SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
William Carey University Athletics.
Every sport you find exciting.
Crusader Talk.
Crusader Talk. And now.
This is Crusader Talk. Crusader Talk. We're covering everything William Carey University Athletics. From the field to the court and the diamond on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
Back and better than ever. Another edition of Crusader Talk for you on this very week. Glad you're with us here for Crusader Talk. My name's Caleb Hamill, joined by Josh West as always. And happy to be recording and broadcasting today's episode as we are getting, we actually had live action this past week.
Oh, we did?
We did. Exhibition, but it still counts in a way. I mean, it counts as something to talk about. Not on the record, but...
There was a bicycle kick goal in the men's game. Holy
cannot ignore the fact that action actually happened this past week. All right, so a lot to get to as we are getting closer and closer to actual regular season action for both soccer and volleyball. I wanted to start off the show with this because last week we spent a whole lot of time talking with Barry Farrell of men's soccer, and today we do have an interview with Ronda Shirley from volleyball coming up as their season is just around the bend. But we didn't spend a lot of time talking about Coach Halford and his Hall of Fame induction. I know we spent some time leading up to it, talked with Andrew Patterson of the Hall of Fame and all the stuff that went into his original nomination and then eventual induction this past weekend. But, Josh, just to kind of rehash some of that, it's just really cool to see all the different people that showed up. I saw pictures from the event. Ben Smith posted some of those. He and a lot of former players all got together, coaching staff, athletics administration, school admins as well, and friends, all gathered around him and really, really showed out in his support. I actually saw his son-in-law at church and just asked about the event, and he said it was a really cool thing. He said food wasn't that great, but the atmosphere and the camaraderie and all of the different things of just seeing him be rewarded for all of his hard work over these past 40-some-odd years in coaching and all things affiliated with William Carey. It's just really special.
Was there more? Did they say if there was more conversation about the, quote, good old days, so to speak, or about the most recent good old days of this World Series run? What was some of the conversations?
I would imagine that a lot of it would center around the most recent World Series. And you think about what Andrea said a couple of weeks ago in the fact that so many of these Hall of Fame inductees have been retired for 5 years or so, and so their bios and their resumes that get submitted for possible nomination that really change when it comes to what goes in when they're actually inducted. Coach Halford, not only did you have to add some wins and losses to his overall record, but you had to add a World Series appearance, a third-place finish in that regard. I didn't have to add any SSAC championships, but that's water under the bridge considering how the team finished this year. But all said and done, this was a very nice gathering, and it's really cool just to see. I got a list of some of the different players that came back to see him. Ben Smith, obviously, part of the athletics administration, Jamie McMahon, who's an assistant coach of his, but outside of the guys that are currently employed by the university, you had Reggie Richardson, Jeff Long, Eddie Easley, Josh Davis, Josh McNulty, Ben Carter, Mike Rodas, Mark Ennis, Frank Ball, also member of the athletics and academic staff at Carey, also in attendance to support Coach Halford. So, just a huge list, and you could see the pictures from the event of the family and then those former players and all kinds of supporters coming out. Really had a strong showing for Coach.
And which leads me to my next question from some of your follow-up conversations. Was kind of an out-of-body experience for Coach Halford? Was he a little was it just so surreal? What did they say his mood was like?
From everything I could tell, he was composed. I think this was one thing that did get brought up. I think he had a few regrets, and I know that's kind of a shock factor on the front end, but what I mean is they didn't have acceptance speeches at the banquet itself. So in order to kind of keep things timely and avoid people just going up there and winging it, they had pre-recorded, interviews, documentary style type things. They got played back at the banquet. And I've mentioned this before. I talked to Hayes Collins, who was one of the guys that were big in that department getting ready for the Hall of Fame banquet. And when he interviewed Coach Halford, they talked all these different things of how he was the first women's basketball coach and how long he had been affiliated with William Carey Baseball and all these different things. And, basically it was a miniature biography of Coach Halford in interview form. Coach Halford, I don't think, realized that was going to be his only moment of accepting the award played back at the banquet. And so he didn't have a big list of people to thank at the ready and repeated during that interview. And so I think Miss Kathy got left without a mention during the quote-unquote acceptance speech time when Coach Halford's video was played. And so he's gotten a couple elbows to the ribs for that one. But all in all, Coach seemed very pleased to have the crowd that he had there. I think he was maybe not out of his element, but I think he was just, surrounded by people that loved him. And so by that token, was just having a good time, not too nervous. Again, didn't really have to worry about getting on stage in front of everybody and saying anything. All that was already done. So I think it was a relaxed, nice evening for everyone.
So what gets you back to a secondary Hall of Fame event? Is it the national championship? If Carey wins a national championship, will the Hall of Fame in Mississippi have some sort of a ceremony recognizing that, where he can pull out a better list? Does that now become part of the goal?
The swan song, if you will? No,
but you know what I mean? I got to get back here again to get another crack at this. Is it the national championship?
I think I know what it would be. And the problem is this would not happen on – the timing of this wouldn't work. But I was going to say that for R.J. Stinson a few years back, he was the recipient of a Ferris Trophy nomination. And so he got to go to that dinner, or that lunch, I guess it was, and Coach Halford spoke on his behalf. But that was about the time that Carey was going to the conference tournament. And so that predates the opening round and the eventual World Series run that Carey could have had. So if you have a player in the future, if you have a World Series win, more than likely you're going to have some kind of star power player that would get a nomination again. I know that's Stinson was one of I think the first one Carey had ever had. So to say that it would be expected for a World Series run in which Carey wins it all, it may be far-fetched, but I think if there's an opportunity, it would probably be at a future Ferris Trophy.
All right. So there is a path back.
Sure. And I think they're going to be – if Carey Baseball wins a national championship under Coach Halford, I think you will have many, many opportunities for him to be behind a microphone to thank many people. And that could range anywhere from the governor's mansion to the White House, as we saw with LSU Shreveport, depending on what kind of season it is. I doubt Carey ever has a perfect season like LSU Shreveport did. That's just unheard of in baseball. But nevertheless, I think if that happens – there will be plenty of opportunities for kudos.
Well, I will say this. If Carey wins a national championship in baseball, with how many members of the Mississippi delegation on Capitol Hill are connected, there is a chance that a Mississippi team could get back to the White House.
Very true.
With just a little politicking on Carey's part. Hey, go to work for us. We want to go.
If nothing else, maybe a vice president advance or something, recognition. I think there would be some semblance of appreciation for a national championship. The problem is there's a ton of national championships at a bunch of different levels, so they don't always garner the attention of an actual visit invitation to the White House. But nevertheless, I think that there would be a lot of appreciation doled out to William Carey from all different angles, national, state level, local level as well.
And it depends on what is the Coach Halford win total in baseball at that point when they win that national championship, if and when. If he's up there around, 14, 1,500, just way, way, way up there, that might garner some attention.
No, we already passed 1,400.
Oh my gosh! So we're talking about 15, 16.
Yeah,
it goes so
fast. At least
fast.
I think because we passed Ron Polk at 1373, and then all of a sudden we're at 1,400.
So what we're going to hear in Coach Shirley's segment is that she can't believe it's year 4.
Yeah.
The years.
I'm
the years
in that same camp.
I mean, they fly, and they kind of mesh together to where just some of the nuanced numbers, if you're not locked in on that sport, they come and go quick.
Yeah. Which, it doesn't seem like it's year 4 for her because we all kind of put last year's out of mind like it never happened. Not because it was a bad season, but because of just the way it became the season that it was. Yeah. So I think that's fair. And then we also just see the giant explosion of success they had in year 2. So, I mean, it's been a fun roller coaster ride, and I'm looking forward to the high that we're hoping to have here in year 4 under the Ron Shirley umbrella. But we'll have that interview with her coming up in the 3rd segment. But we've got a little bit of action to recap, and also a schedule drop happened this past week for basketball. So that and more coming up as you listen to Crusader Talk. Stick around.
You're tuned in to Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
A while back, I got to do a baseball game with Ben Smith, and this will tell you everything you need to know about how the game was going, because we got off on a subject matter of talking about hand-grabbing catfish, and it was just talking about all these different hunting personality people. And one of them just came into my mind right now. Not a hunter, but just the same vein of thought right here. And it's this guy that was on TV called Turtle Man. Do you ever remember him?
I do not
so
remember
Turtle
Man.
Turtle Man was a guy that was a trapper of sorts. Come out and catch possums that had gotten into people's houses, sheds, barns, whatever you have. I think he did snakes too. Yeah, all kinds of different things. But it made for fun television because this dude had all 4 teeth left in his head. But
maybe I do remember Turtle Man.
Yeah, but he had this catchphrase of "yee live action." So him getting into catching a possum was live action. It's alive. It's action. Get it into a sackcloth or trash bag, whatever, and that was it. And you move on to the next one. The episode would continue. But that's all I can think of right now when I'm talking about soccer season. As we had that scrimmage recently on the men's side against Jones, is that we have live action finally to talk about.
Yes, we did.
And you mentioned the bicycle kick. I haven't seen or you gotten the full recount from anybody that was there, and I just had a prior commitment, couldn't make it out there to the field. But evidently a very nice, I'd say last few minutes, but a nice ending to it for William Carey of kind of the style of play that we expect from a Barry Farrell coached club.
Yeah, Jones College came out with a lot of energy, really possessed well in the first 10 minutes. And then very quickly, Carey settled in, had a screamer off the crossbar, kind of almost stuck it in the upper 90, upper right corner. Just a beautiful bender that just crushed the crossbar. So, it was, just almost dead centered it. So, in terms of the ball on that bar. So, you could hear it across the street. So, that would have put Carey up 1 just before the half. They come out in the second half. They get the bicycle kick from Peary. Incredible. And then they add another one late. And I put a group text together between all of us that really follow it. And Clayton was in there as well. And got a report from Tom to give us a report on the match. And he said that quality down the stretch really wore down on Jones. So, this is going to be a Carey team that has got the pieces, certainly has the pieces if they'll continue to develop because, Coach Farrell each and every year does such a great job. And go back and hear that podcast if you haven't. And so 2-0 could have easily been 4-0 because I mentioned a couple that clanked off either the post or the crossbar. So I think all in all, a lot to improve on, and then a lot of good things came out of that as well.
Yeah. Now, this is a little bit of a different scenario of what a scrimmage was when it comes to the women's side, because the men were playing a JUCO team in Jones. Meanwhile, the women, bless their souls, they were playing a D1 school in South Alabama, and they've got a D2 coming up on August 15th of a scrimmage against Mississippi Christian, formerly Mississippi College. I didn't hear official, like, what the final score would have been, but all in all, there was some room for improvement on the women's side. But there was another factoid to be thrown out there, and that's that when it comes to this team under Jack Hartley, the roster is still not finalized. And I'll throw the caveat out there. This is something that happened under the previous administration too. That's just a matter of how NAIA soccer works so often in getting players eligible, which, again, I know that always sounds like it's nefarious or something. Like
it's a backlog of paperwork. It's not shady.
Yes, and for some of the things, this happens in baseball too. You get international players, and they've played with certain associations, and you have to vet to say that this is not a professional association. This is still amateur, so they still are an eligible player. Don't have to set out an extra year for all these different things. There's just things and hoops you have to jump through, and a lot of times it doesn't happen until the 11th hour. And so that's where we stand with some of the players still waiting to come in and be officially official on the William Carey roster. So I could see a completely different showing come August 15th, but we'll know for sure what this team looks like come August 20th in the first match of the regular season down in Shreveport.
Yeah, talking to some of the ladies or through secondhand conversation, if you will, you kind of coming in late to conversations. Hey, how did that go? What do they think of the match yesterday? And to echo what you said, we don't have a full squad yet. We've got more pieces that need to show up. We feel like we got a chance to be very competitive. So they are. There's optimism there, and that's good. It's a new day, and so for them to have that mindset, I think that's positive.
Yeah, and if you're undecided on what you think about this team from a women's soccer side and whether or not you should come out and support, well, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to see what they're made of, because the first home match for William Carey will not be until, this is again for women, will not be until September 3rd, when on Thursday the Crusaders host LSU-A. Prior to that, they'll have 3 matches under their belt for the regular season, one against LSU Shreveport, Kaiser, and Georgia Gwinnett, all of those away from home. So, those are tough opponents as well. So keep that in mind, even if maybe the results aren't all wins. But you'll have an opportunity to hear and see what this team is made of before they come back to Hattiesburg for a match. Meanwhile, for the men, you've got a heavy dose of play going on in the hub city right out of the gate. And in fact, if you're wanting to catch a scrimmage, you can be a part of one coming up on Friday, August 14th, when Pearl River rolls into town to take on the Crusaders in another scrimmage. That will be at 7 o'clock, again, August 14th, Friday, where you can catch that. The final scrimmage before Carey kicks off their season on August 20th, a Thursday, against Texas Wesleyan.
First 7 regular season matches at home. You couple it with the scrimmages, that is 9 in a row to start.
And I feel like we had this same thing last year.
Yeah, no, I like it. When you're a heavyweight, for example, when you're an SEC team, you don't play non-conference road games. What's a non-conference road game?
No.
You're coming to my place. So no, I love it. I love it, and a chance to really figure a lot of things out and to play on a pristine surface.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because there was a funny story. This was from a couple years ago. And I'm only bringing this back up because I've kind of gotten into yard maintenance myself, and weed killers and selective herbicides and all this stuff. So evidently, a couple years ago, their season's about to begin, and there's maybe some crabgrass or some minor weed things. Just weed control had to happen on the playing surface, and so they got out the sprayer, put the right chemicals in there to just spray to where it doesn't kill the grass but kills the weeds. Kills what you want to kill, doesn't kill what you want to keep. Evidently, that same sprayer had been recently used for straight up Roundup.
Oh, no.
Which kills everything. So though the tank was empty, what was in the tube was still there, and they did not flush it out before going to town. And so there were sections of that field that were gasping for breath at the season's beginning. They eventually got it all, back G-hawing and working well, but you want to talk about a scary situation where all of a sudden you feel like you've killed an entire field because you still had some Roundup in the tube of your sprayer. Because that's under vacuum and is so high pressure, and so there's a lot that still goes through that tube before you finally get to the new liquid.
Look, that Roundup is serious stuff. And when I was out in California, there was a guy spraying weeds along a fence line in a hazmat suit. And I wonder, because of California regulation, if he was literally using Roundup.
Well, like California, man, sugar causes cancer. I mean, everything is listed as a potential cancer-causing whatever. You see it on every label known to man.
But Roundup, I've heard stories of.
Now, I do believe Roundup probably has.
And it's like if you just use it, and you never protect yourself. Yeah, it works. Let's just put it that it works.
Yeah,
but that's a great. I did not know that story.
Oh yeah,
but let me tell you, it was in really good shape.
Yes,
this weekend, and so hopefully some of this rain has hit them, and I'm just hoping some rain will hit Petal. It's sometime this week.
If you build it, it will come.
Yes.
What was the thing in facing the Giants? Which farmer, did God deliver the rain to? That the one prepared his fields. So you just got to prepare your fields for rain, Josh.
There you go.
There's a character named Josh in there, right? I think there was, maybe.
Gosh, that was at the beginning. Facing the Giants was at the beginning of the contemporary Christian movie craze.
Yeah.
And that was the one. They got better from there in terms of the acting.
Maybe I'm probably thinking of Jonathan, because Jonathan was the holder and David was the kicker.
Yeah.
For facing the Giants. So maybe that's what I'm thinking of right there.
We still got to get to the men's basketball schedule on the last segment.
Yes, because coming up next, we've got an interview that Josh recorded with Coach Ronda Shirley earlier today to talk about the upcoming volleyball season. We want to talk about a potential bounce-back year. I don't think it gets more stark in possibility than what we had from last year to this year. Just from everybody that are coming back healthy, I've used this scenario before, but I truly mean it. If you've ever seen a bull ready to come out of the gate in a rodeo, good old-fashioned rodeo, that's what some of these girls that are coming back from injury are like. They are just waiting to have their moment to break out of there and kick off whatever rider is trying to get in their way. That interview coming up with Josh on the other side of this timeout.
Talking everything William Carey University athletics. This is Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
All right, back with you here on Crusader Talk as we're on the verge of volleyball season kicking into gear. It is right around the corner. Scrimmage coming up this Wednesday at 10 a.m. If you're interested in watching William Carey take on Co-Lin there at the Ben Wallace Sports Facility, you can be a part of that. Because if you miss that, it's going to be a long time before you get to actually see women's volleyball play in Hattiesburg. In fact, September 12th when the Crusaders face conference opponent Mobile for a 1 o'clock showdown on that Saturday. But Josh got to catch up with Coach Ronda Shirley earlier today, and this is what that conversation sounded like as they recorded.
Ronda, I can't have. I wish everybody could be my favorite. You are one of my favorites. You're all my favorites. But I get so hyped up to talk volleyball with you. How are you doing?
Good. It's just I can't believe we're already back. I feel like I dropped a bunch of kids off at the airport in May and blinked, and then here they're back. But I'm uber excited they're back. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Well, we always do this over the phone, but this time you and I are both on the phone with the magic of technology. It makes it very convenient as we're pre-recording this segment here for this week's episode of Crusader Talk. And, Coach, just all the hype going into this year for me was the fact that I knew that this was going to be a team that was going to be deeper. This was going to be a team that was going to come into the fall healthier and going to be getting a lot of players back that missed time last year for one reason or another. And a lot of those were to, knee injuries. So how did recovery season go, if you will? And just talk about how this team is ready to perhaps launch into what could turn out to be a really special year.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of unfortunate injuries last year, but those young ladies worked really hard to, get back. Everybody is back on the court. Two of them are still not released to be in competition, but they're allowed to do practices. So Sophia and Sarah, our middle from last year, and Sophia are starting outside, are still not released for competition, but they're in practice drills, and I don't think they're probably too far off. I would think for sure by second round, if not probably the middle of first round of conference, I think you will see them back and hopefully seeing some time. But, the rest of them out there and doing well, and I'm just very pleased with how they trained in the off season and through the summer to get back to where they are. So that is a huge plus. We have a large squad this year because I wasn't sure of how that would go. You just never know. But that is aiding for us to have a lot of quality depth. And so, just excited to see how all the pieces are really going to fall into place.
You mentioned a large squad, quality depth, the opportunity, if it presents itself, to kind of platoon groups at teams and try to really push the tempo and wear them down. I'm sure that's something that's already been crossing your mind as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're not just going to have to, if someone's having a bad day, make them just, gut it out, which sometimes you have to, but also too, if another team is picking up a middle's tendency or an outside's tempo, we can throw somebody else in there just to kind of throw it off for a little bit. Doesn't mean that kid's doing a bad job, but it's just all about playing the game within the game. I always say it's like a chess game, and they move a piece, we move a piece, and it's just the strategy of it. And I do think the quality of our depth will, number one, help with that, but just like you said too, keep us a little bit more fresh, where maybe we can throw some fresh legs in there and a fresher arm for a little bit, and that can only help you, especially if we've got some kids that right now we do are pretty parallel, and some of that may just come down to their volleyball in shape, because being in shape and being volleyball in shape is two different things, but also experience, because we have some quality freshmen in, but we also know sometimes experience is a key, and a little bit just of that grit. So it's been great at practices. Energy has just been off the charts. It's it's just exciting to see, and it just gives me a lot of, like I said, different pieces to work with.
She's Ronda Shirley. She's your head volleyball coach here at William Carey here on Crusader Talk. And Coach, one of the things that we always talk about is how the culture is growing at William Carey, the culture of the team, the program, the way this program is perceived within the community, the student body, the fan base. And that is a carryover this year from last year, even to a higher level. It's something we were talking about before we hit record on this interview, was the fact that the returning players are already setting the standard of the non-negotiables. And for you, that makes it so much fun to come to work every day, because in a day and age in which that's not always necessarily the case, for you to be able to come in and just get to work coaching X's and O's and skill development and fine-tuning things, that's got to be a joy.
It is. I mean, really, I can't brag on my returners enough on the standards they are upholding, and, just really leading the new people in, just being excited about the culture they have. You're right. There's a lot of times I don't even have to address things because it's addressed in the locker room before they even get there, or it will even be addressed before I when after a water breakout, I can hear them talking about it over here. The things that we do, the things that we don't do, the carry way, the volleyball carry way. I always say to people, like, you're making that shift when it's not just coach led, but player led. And I think sometimes people misunderstand that, meaning the players are running the program. No, that's not what it means. It means those players are so bought in that they are an extension of the coaching staff, and they have bought into the culture, and it means something to them, and they want to uphold the standards. And that is exactly what I have right now. And it's so exciting to see. But you're right. It takes a lot of pressure off. I don't have to stop and talk for 10 or 15 minutes about effort or all the intangibles, or I don't. We can just get after it, and I can spend my time on what I should. And that's, technique, the fundamentals, and the X's and O's. And so I give a big shout out to all my returners, because they have been doing an excellent job.
Coach, when I think about the championships that are coming, the championship mentality and work ethic rather, the day-to-day has already been set. There was disappointment over last year's results, and a lot of that was out of their control. Injuries played such a key part, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't disappointment and it didn't add fuel to the fire for this offseason. Those returners in particular, they've got to be as hungry as ever.
For sure. I mean, last year was tough. I just can't even express how proud I still was of them. They could have thrown in the towel.
Absolutely.
We still finished very, very strong, and stronger than I think a lot of people even thought that we could. And so that's just a testament to them. But yes, they saw something special last year, and it was hard at times not to talk about only if. And finally I was just like, we can't keep looking in the rearview mirror, and we just have to look ahead. And they're taking that, and that's fueling them, because they're looking ahead again, and just taking that setback as it can be a great comeback. And I just love how they look at things, and not the woe is me, but this is what we can do. And God never puts more on us than we can handle. And there's always a reason for everything. And I think they're taking that in stride, but they're hungry. That's the one thing I can say, that they're hungry, and they want to get back out there, and they want to be great representations of Carey and show people what we're made of.
Coach, got a couple of minutes left in this segment. And with that, you talk about the depth of personnel, a couple of players that are coming back towards the first, second weekend, if you will, of conference play. But just some of the personnel, we could spend a couple hours talking about all of the personnel. But there have been a couple of players in particular that have been the talk of camp that are going to be true difference makers to lead this team. Talk about those players real quick.
Well, I think one of them is Evelyn, who was our libero in the last 2 years, like mid-season. She's gotten injured. She's looking really good now. And she's just a lot of times been the missing piece for us. So I'm very excited about her, because a lot of people don't know about her, because she has unfortunately been, sidelined, but she's just such a great culture kid and a leadership standpoint. So I'm just, excited to see her have a complete year. We got a lot of new faces. Emily Martin is a new setter, a freshman setter that we have had coming in from North Shore, from down in Slidell. And she plays very mature. She comes from a good program, played in a good club. I think she's somebody, to watch. I mean, excited to have her for 4 years. We have a transfer from Southern Miss, a 6'2" young lady that played JUCO prior, and I love those JUCO kids.
Absolutely.
She's very springy. She's still kind of raw, but she can bring a great dynamic, to the team. So I think those are a couple, great newbies. We've got a Brazilian setter from New Mexico Military, where Evelyn came from, where Barbie came from, where Alicia came from, very disciplined. She's going to add, as well. I mean, we have so many great ones. I could talk about all of them. But, we have 4 true freshmen in this year, and 4 very good incoming. We got Aubrey Easley from down in Purvis, Emily Martin, that's from Slidell, plus her teammate Calissa Tolis, that is from North Shore down in Slidell. And then we have Peyton McLaren, who is from the Mobile area, played for LAV Club. It's probably one of the strongest freshman class that I've had, with just some great volleyball experience from the high schools and club they have. So they're going to be very exciting to watch for the next 4 years. They are going to be our glue for sure in a couple years, by far.
Coach, about 30 seconds left. The league, in particular, the top half of the league, is always extremely competitive, player for player. Do you feel like this Carey squad matches up as good as any as you've had here?
I do. And everybody's getting better. I mean, because our conference is getting better. I mean, it's just, I can't even tell you how much stronger it's gotten since I walked in here. I can't even believe it's my 4th season, but and you have some new people in, like Xavier, they were winning their conference down there. So it is, the bottom is not the bottom. I mean, it's going to be tough. And I just think it's going to be, who can keep their kids invested into what's going on and keep them healthy. And it's really anybody's game, but we're up for the challenge. I know I am.
That was Coach Ronda Shirley getting ready for yet another season of William Carey Volleyball. Coming up next, final segment with you here on Crusader Talk. Glad you're with us. Stick around.
From the coaches to the student athletes and the fans that cheer them on, you're listening to Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
All right, final segment with you here on today's episode. Appreciate Coach Ronda Shirley catching up with Josh for this week. Busy week in volleyball for her and the team. So, and thanks to you, Josh, for getting that recorded for us today. I know we're pre-recorded today, so a lot of stuff was just kind of mashed together to make it happen today, and we're glad that you did that. So we actually have an episode.
Hey, I was excited. I mean, to hear her energy and enthusiasm, the thing that is really optimistic is that this is becoming a player-led program as we go into year 4. And that was the case last year as well. But you couldn't help but want to what if last year to death, so to speak. And then they got to a point the last month or so where it's like, look, we've got to look forward. Well, what was way out there is here now. What was way off in the distance, the surgery, the off-season, the recovery, the PT, all of that, to get back to this. Here we are. Game week is here. And not only is there a official games on the road coming up, but if you want to see this team, they will be playing this coming up Wednesday. So this is hitting your wherever your podcasts are on Tuesday, the following day, coming up on Wednesday, 10 a.m., Colin is going to be in town. So a chance to get out to campus and see a scrimmage and have lunch. Go have fried chicken at the Calf.
Yes.
Right after
do it.
You see some William Carey volleyball.
Fantastic. All right. Another thing you mentioned, we want to get this in before we run out of time. Basketball schedules broke. And so they're out there on CareyAthletics.com. You can get the full rundown there. Something just caught my eye. There's about, I think, 27 games on the men's schedule, give or take. That's just rough counting for me quickly here. But there is I believe 9. It's either 8 or 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 away game stretch from November 24th through January 2nd. There's not a home game at Clinton Gym in the month of December.
Yes. I couldn't believe that.
And that's not all. Well, actually, the majority of it is conference. I mean, the entire month of December is all away conference games.
That's usually where we throw in a Southeastern Baptist into the mix.
Yeah,
to get a home game. And I
maybe
noticed
there's something that could be added later on. May not be Southeastern Baptist, but maybe there's something else just to give everybody a true up game out of the break. But I don't know.
But I think this is a really solid schedule. For Coach's first year. I also like that the men are headed to West Palm Beach, Florida as well. I think that is a great recruiting tool I think you see that a lot at the Division I level that we remember from 20 years ago. That part of building a team was, hey, where are we going for Thanksgiving or Christmas? Oh, we're going to Hawaii. Oh, we're going to, Cancun or whatever, and we're going to play in a basketball tournament. They're going to West Palm, Florida. There are a lot worse places to be than West Palm right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Other highlights, though, to mention. Fifth game of the year, and you're playing your first conference game. And not only is it your first conference game of the year, it's also first time back playing Xavier as a conference opponent.
How do you think Xavier feels? Welcome back to the league. You get the defending champs in Hattiesburg.
I was going to say, Carey's happy to get them in Hattiesburg for the first conference game of the year. And they will return that favor of a trip down to New Orleans on January 28th, in which they'll play at the Convocation Center on that Thursday evening. But man, it's going to be an interesting schedule. Got 2 teams in New Orleans now, so opportunities if you want to make a road trip there in January, you can do that because they play them back-to-back games, Thursday and Saturday. Just make a little Crescent City trip down there.
Yeah, it's a fun place to go watch a game there because Xavier University of Louisiana secured a lot of the funding after Katrina for that facility. So this is a facility that has hosted the NCAA three-point slam dunk contest when New Orleans will host the Final Four in the Superdome, in the Caesars Superdome. So that's a great facility.
I realize now why I got 9 away games in a row a while ago. That's because the women do have 9 games in a row on the road in that same stretch. Just started off with those 2 in West Palm Beach, Florida, and then you have ABAC, Brute Parker, and all those. Campbellsville randomly thrown in there for a Montgomery Classic on December 17th and 18th.
Real quickly at the end, what do you think, just for women? Let's just look at women, and I'll look at the men real quick. Record prediction in those 9 games. Because some of those matchups are quite favorable for Carey.
Yeah, some are. You're going to have to make sure you don't slip up against Tennessee Southern. That's going to be the tough one. But you also have Reinhardt, Kaiser, no slouches when it comes to athletics. Their story program's similar to Carey on the national landscape. So, I mean, if you come out of there with just 2 losses, I think you're still happy with the way you perform. Probably felt like you left something on the table, but anything 2 losses or less is, I would say, a success.
Yeah, and men would like better than 6-3, but they would take 6-3. Even if you go 5-4 in that stretch, it wouldn't be just shocking because of Florida National, Kaiser, at Tennessee Southern, at Mobile, at Talladega. Some good matchups.
Yeah. Programming note for everyone out there. There is a chance that Crusader Talk will be a little bit different in its form factor next time that you catch us, whether it be on SuperTalk Hattiesburg or just in podcast form. Trust us, we will continue to deliver you the best and greatest exciting news when it comes to Carey athletics. That is our promise to you, that we will continue to do this in some form or another, staying true to William Carey athletics. So for Josh, I'm Caleb. Good night, God bless, and go Satyrs.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.